Hello, Tekla wizards and fanatics. You are listening again or watching Tekla podcast, where we are all about practical knowledge or tips. First of all, how to raise Tekla efficiency and how to minimize project mistakes. That's the two things that we are focusing and we try to stay as practical as possible. You can listen this podcast in different podcast platforms, see this in the article format in our blogs, under our blogs, our webpage, and also you can watch on YouTube. Today, most of the this episode we will be talking, at least we have been planned, but there are some very interesting slides or something that our guests will show also. So it is most probably okay, just listen, but some extra tips or something extra you will get who will be watching this on, for example, YouTube. Today our guest is from Sweco Group. Sweco is doing mostly engineering and consulting. There is many things, as they have 17.5 thousand employees, so it's quite a big group. It started in Sweden, as I think the Sve from the first part of the name comes from Sweden. It started from Sweden, and now they have different kind of entities or contacts all over mostly in Europe, like Denmark, Lithuania, Netherlands, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Finland, Norway, Estonia, Belgium, United Kingdom. So quite a lot. Also, what is special about what's very different and interesting about Sweco is that they are putting a lot of effort about sustainability, and I think it looks to me that especially in Nordic countries, as the Sweco is from Nordic countries, then there is already this very, very important sustainability, and they put a lot of effort on this side. So something that like Estonia is copying a lot from Finland, then we can copy this idea also and get over that, okay, this is the way where world is going, because for us, Nordics are a step or a couple of steps in front of us. So, and today's guest is Ricardo Farinha, who is in Sweco, Finland, and originally he's from Portugal. But he has been for quite many years already in Finland, and looks like he has been climatized with this snow and bad weather. He's the director of technology in Sweco, and mostly he managed different development teams. Yes, it's not only one person who is doing development there. There is not only one team or one office, there are teams. So it's like a whole new level, and yes, they are doing really great work there, localizing Tekla and the automation, doing environment, different tools to improve the quality, and we will find out today what they are doing there. Ricardo is also a person who goes out, and he's very demanded person who has been invited to different events to give different talks, and this is for a reason, because I would say this is the guy who is from the future. If we are talking like thinking that, oh, what will be the future, then this is the guy who is front line, and they are co-working with the Trimble company and different kind of organizations and they are like really many steps ahead of many, and then he knows what the future brings. Of course, he can't tell everything that are ongoing, let's say ongoing projects, but I know that he has a lot of good information that's for us a lot of new and very useful still, and I will be waiting for this episode. So welcome, Ricardo, and is there something that you would like to add? Or?
Oh, I think you did quite a good description. Thank you for that. It was also quite flattering.
So, Ricardo, the first question I would like to start is about this kind of like presenting and cooperating. I know that there are many countries who are many companies who are very close because we are competitors, but in the end, all the companies. But why is your approach? I know in Finland there is a lot of co-working going around, and you are doing this kind of like live events, talking what you're doing, participating this podcasts and giving this information away. So why? What is your reasons behind?
Well, this is it's something that we understand that I mean, some of the problems we try to solve, they are so big that it's impossible for a one company or a one team to solve. I mean, these are some of the problems we face in the construction industry. They are so cross border, cross company, cross like a discipline that you cannot solve it alone. So you need to collaborate to be able to solve the big picture, the bigger problems. And that's one of the things that we have identified for some many years ago. And that's the reason that we try to often sit down in different consortiums of companies that we work together to try to solve these bigger problems. And then internally, we try to apply what we learn from the others and try to then implement it in practice inside Sweco to our own processes. So that has been, I've been working on this field for about 14 years, and it was already like this in Finland when I came to this industry. So it's quite, how to say, it's embedded already in this culture, it seems. So and I think it has been giving quite good results. So we have quite good, well, let's give you a real example. So I can talk a bit about the BEC project. BEC is an organization, or the Betoniteollisuus is an organization in Finland that is defining this kind of standards for this kind of precast construction. And we have sitted down together different companies, like the manufacturers, the guys that design the structures, and the universities. And we sit together for a couple of years, and we find out a way to standardize the way that design is done on those structures in Finland. So now if you have design done in company A or company B, you get the same end result, which means that it's then easier to standardize, and it's easier to automatize and create standard ways of working. And it's easier for everyone in the chain to then move things forward. So that kind of a collaboration is pretty common nowadays. And like mentioned, I've been working 14 years, and it has been like that since the beginning. It has been very constant.
Yes, I can tell this PEC standard or these instructions are available in internet also. If you Google, then you will find them easily, and there is English version also, so non-Finnish can understand also. And I would add that it's not only for the people who are doing the projects it's easier, but also the clients who receive the let's say the results. They will get more constant and better results. So it's generally, or for everybody, it's good and give benefits.
So when you standardize, then the quality of the construction also improves. So that has been something. You can do things cheaper in a more sustainable way. So you don't need to do so many, let's say if you have a precast wall, if you standardize the way it's done, then you don't need to have 20 different walls. You can have maybe 3 types, and you can solve most of the cases because it's a standard way of handling. And that, of course, is more sustainable way of then handling the construction itself.
Yes. Ricardo, do you know, I know that Tekla Structures have been for a long time in Sweco. Do you know what was the reason of choosing Tekla there, and how it fits to Sweco's workflow?
Yes, so Tekla, as you know, nowadays it's part of Trimble. So Trimble is a US company, but back in the days, like I don't remember how many years, maybe 6, 7, it was a Finnish company. So Tekla was a Finnish company. And the Tekla Structures in Sweco group, it's quite strongly used here in Finland. And that's where it came, is that in the past, before we had a separate company that was then acquired by Sweco, and this separate company we only designed Tekla Structures. So it was the biggest portion of the structural engineering departments. They already used Tekla Structures for like 10, 15 years. And then when we were migrated or when we joined with Sweco back in the day, I think it was 2014, something like this, 2000 or 2012, then we started like pushing this software to the other teams that already existed in the company. And nowadays, this Tekla Structures environment that we have been building for like 10 years is nowadays used in most of the countries in Sweco, or if not all the countries in Sweco, and all the people that actually use Tekla Structures in Sweco. So when in the beginning it started to be, let's say 95% of the people using Tekla and the environment were in Finland, nowadays it might be something like maybe 50% of the Tekla people in Sweco are from Finland. So it has been growing. Besides growing the amount of people, it has been also growing outside of Finland. And it's a good tool. It has been very useful and good for the projects that we are involved with. So that has been the reason that, and we have so good relations with Tekla. So we have cooperation with them. We discuss how to improve the tool, and it has been easy to work with them. So that has been the reason that we have been maintaining that way of working.
Yeah, very good. But now, when you told that Tekla is like growing outside also and going to the other offices, then what would be your tips or tricks how to successfully implement Tekla in one company? Like in your case, it's expanding, but let's take a parallel also when some new company would take or would like to take Tekla into use, then how would you prioritize? What would be the first steps that you would recommend, or in which order it would go?
I think the training is fundamental. So you need to have a good system to train your workforce. So that was one of the first things. Even before you start automating and building automation on top of the software, which we currently build quite a lot, we need to have a quite good system and like a network of people that are more experienced that can then help the others and slowly push everyone to the higher level all the time. So that would be the advice I give, to try to find, I mean, different companies have different strategies, but try to find what could work for your company. What kind of training strategy? How do you train your workforce so that you see continuously improvement? They keep doing things faster and faster, better and better, and the client is then, of course, getting all the time better quality and becoming more happy.
Yes, this is very typical tactic that I have seen myself also in different companies, that at first they take this early adapter who is most interested and motivated about Tekla. They will take time, learn it one way or another way, and then later they will help out like help others also to get the same level.
And at Sweco that works pretty well because we are a decentralized organization, which means that let's say we have 3,500 departments. I think it was something like that at some point in Sweco, and they work as, let's say, independent companies, even though it's the same company. So we need to have this kind of people that learn and start teaching the others, so that then the knowledge spreads. Of course, we also have group level ways of changing information and train our people, but this decentralized like communication between our workforce, that is a very agile way of spreading knowledge. You then just need to ensure that they are spreading the right thing. So you need to have maybe some kind of central organization or team, like a beam team or something, that can then guide these people that are the super users, let's say like that. That they are then just giving the guidelines, and then the super users are then in charge of spreading the knowledge and helping each other and growing together as a team.
There is very good. We know already two factors. There is one is the training, give the trainings to the like users or who will be using Tekla. There is also about the automation, but how many times the obstacle is about the mindset, the culture. Do you have any kind of recommendations how to approach this? Like some people are old-minded, like okay, it's maybe complicated, takes too much time, why to put effort, or like these kind of. Do you have any kind of tips or ideas how we can fight this?
That's a valid point, and actually in our industry is actually known to be quite what is the English word? Quite resistant to change. So this is a fact, and and we can see this in multiple places in the industry. So one of the approaches that we have noticed is that, especially in the automation side, when we want to build something that will help them and speed up the process or make things better, like we try to involve the people that actually will use the systems very early on, so that they are part of the building of the system. So you get feedback very early on saying that, okay, this doesn't make any sense, from the guy that actually designs the things. This doesn't make any sense, don't do it like this. So, and the more they get involved, the more excited and the more ownership they say that, oh, this is my baby also, I want to use it. So that has been a good way to make people interested in development and interesting in learning, interesting in giving ideas. So that has been something that has worked for us in the past and still is working.
Yeah, this is a very good tactic. I think it's called putting your foot on the door, or like get one foot at first and then step by step you can enter this. Yeah.
Small steps, and always trying to measure also the added value it brings to you. So don't just start building like a massive 3-year project without having a plan or milestones where you can measure. Is it actually having a success? Are actually the people using these automations, these processes? And because when you can prove that they are using and you can somehow measure, it doesn't need to be 100% accurate. It can be an estimation, but an estimation is better than nothing. But when you have some estimation or some value, it's then easier to design the next steps. And it's like this tree. So you have a road, and then you have different ways to go. So you have these different milestones so that you can decide which way to go along the way, depending on the data that you see, for example, coming from these measuring systems you are implementing in your company.
Yeah. This measuring thing is really interesting, where I would like to come back, but at first I would like to ask from your side. You are not yourself a Tekla users, but you are on in front of these teams who are doing tools to Tekla users, for Tekla users, and then you hear a lot of different kind of input. The input comes from the actual users. So what do you think? What do you see? What is the tricks or these main points that gives these Tekla structures efficiency? How we can get more done and faster?
So actually, in our teams, we don't have actually pure software engineers. We often have a mixture, like software engineer, which is a civil engineer that sometimes even works in a real project. And I think that's one of the keys to success, that you don't just build a team around software engineers that don't understand the domain knowledge. You need to have also people that work very closely with or that they are themselves coding, but they understand what is a composite column, what is a structural wall, and why can't you take it down. So you need to have people that understand the process to be able to build then the systems that are then used by the engineers and architects. And that has been something that we have been since day one. Be very careful when we hire people, and we often even send some of these developers to work in projects so that they can learn and discuss together. But you are asking about the benefits of the development, wasn't that the question?
Yes.
So the benefits are one of the drivers, at least here in Finland, for developing has been related to this kind of costs. So the price per hour here is pretty high, as probably most of the listeners know. So if you, for example, go like maybe 100 kilometers south of Finland, the price per hour is half of Finland. So we need to, it's very competitive market for us. So we need to somehow always be in the edge. We always need to improve the quality and find better ways to design so that we can keep having the projects. So that has been one driver since the beginning. But there's more. There's not. You mentioned the sustainability. That's another thing. So finding ways that we can do things in a smarter way, finding solutions that can help our people to reinvent the way that things are designed. So with the help of technology, that's something that we have been seeing that adds value, that the technology can help us speed up a lot of the processes that in the past just took too long time. So designing, you are pressing the same button 50 times a day, just build something that automates that for you, so that you then have time to think of other things like sustainability things. How can we design a more sustainable solution for this factory or for this hospital or for this school? So those have been, I think, the biggest benefits for the automation that I have seen personally. They can do things faster, so then they have also time to think outside of the box, not just pressing the button that the computer can do for you.
Yes, I know that this word sustainability can like sound something like ooh, why to put focus there, but to remember that some years ago the word BIM was also that okay, this is something that it's not needed and only some early adapters can do it, but actually it's not needing on the in the market. But nowadays we can see that this BIM like demands or these kind of like points are already written in many countries, especially governmental level, these kind of contracts. If you are not able to give this BIM model or this kind of like higher level of project out, then you can't compete there just. And I believe that now maybe today we are just thinking that sustainability is something that is not affecting too much our results, but actually I believe that as I said, Nordic countries are some steps ahead of many other countries, including Estonia. So maybe if they are already thinking about and this is the way where world is going, then maybe we should think about it also and start as early as possible to deal with this. You mentioned about a lot about development and you are leading these teams, let's say. So can you tell a little bit how big is the total size of development teams and what are the like different teams, what are the focuses, or how you divide them?
So in Sweco, like I mentioned, we are a decentralized organization, which means I cannot give you a real number. It's pretty hard for me to even know the size of those teams because there's so many of them. But for example, the teams that I've been working with here in Finland, there is more than this, but the teams that I've been working have been focusing on lately. So in the last year and this year, the topics have been BIM development, which has been this kind of supporting the environment that our people are using on Tekla Structures, for example. That has been one team. Then we have other teams working on data science. We have teams working on digital services, like building new innovative solutions that can then be used as a support, for example, for improving the way that the projects are delivered, for example. So new like ways of like using technology and to support the delivery of the projects, for example. That's some topic. And the sizes of the teams you were asking. So these teams that I've been working, I think full time for 1 year, it has been something like, I don't know, 10 people around. So between 10 and 14, I don't know the numbers exactly, but it has been growing quite a lot. And like I said, it has been in a strategy since very early on to have this kind of a development in-house. So we work with development in-house, we work with partners. So it's not all the development done in Sweco, there's also development done outside of Sweco for us, or then done outside of Sweco together with other partners that then benefit the industry itself. But the teams that I've been working with, it's between 10 to 14 people. In the last year, it was something like that. But like I said, there is other teams. I mean, there is teams that work in the projects, for example, and their job in that project, like if there's a massive hospital, for example, they have a job, they design the hospital, plus they have a part-time job to improve the way that the hospital is designed, the process itself. And that is considered in here as a developer as well. So there is plenty of these small bubbles or islands of development within the company. And then these people are then connected together. So we have this kind of how could we call it? This kind of connected, like teams are connected, like they know each other, they communicate to each other, they ask questions to each other. So there is this community, this connected community. So they might even belong to different unit, different city, but they have ways to ask questions from each other and to help each other. So, and that I cannot even put a number on that. I don't know how many there are. It depends on the project, of course, but there is quite a lot.
Yes, this is the thing that I have noticed also. If a new company takes Tekla Structure into use, then maybe at first they ask help from outside, then they see the first benefits. There comes the first BIM leader inside the company, and the more companies see that how much value this kind of investment or having this BIM person who is dedicated only for developing these kind of environments, tools, how much value it brings, then I don't know, but somehow they see that it's worth it, and this one person will grow 2-3 persons, one team more, and then as you can see they're like Sweco and bigger companies who have teams. It's not only anymore teams, so they have to see the value there.
So like this podcast is about a bit related to Tekla Structures. So if I give you the example of Tekla Structures, we have, I don't remember how many years, maybe 8 years ago or even more, we have been building this kind of a core team to basically their full-time job is to support all the Tekla users. Nowadays, this team is supporting about 1,200 Tekla users. So they build settings, drawings, teach people, make these communities alive. So make sure that the super users talk to each other, organize events, build tools, for example, automation tools, invent new processes. So it's a full-time job, a multi-person full-time job to then maintain this environment, which is called the Sweco Tekla environment, which is the every Tekla user is using here. So in the beginning, when we started using Tekla, we didn't have something like this. It was like individual islands building themselves, but then we started to be more central in the building of this environment that is then trying to understand what are the different needs and then trying to make sure that we don't just start building 1,000 different ways. We try to standardize also the way that things work. And this has worked pretty well for us in Sweco along these years.
The one thing is to have the development team. My question that may be a little bit difficult, but how Sweco approach this question that how we get the input from the users, how you get the input from the users what to develop, and the other way then when development teams create something awesome and useful, then how you communicate back to the users that they would use it. So how you have solved this question problem that's not too easy.
That's a never solving. It's an unsolvable question because it's so hard to do at the moment. But we have been basically, our people know about our teams, so they know to contact, and they have places they can send emails, and there's some forms that you can fill with ideas, and they actually give us ideas. That's something that you don't hear often. It took a while for them to get used to this, but when they see that they give an idea and it gets done in the end, that has been the trigger. So the more success stories you create, this kind of that they give you ideas and then it's done in a week or it's done in a month maximum, then they start saying, okay, actually, it makes sense to ask more. I want to know more. You took a week to do that. I thought you couldn't even do it in the first place because the people often, like in the business when they are designing, like they might not know what's possible. So part of our job is also to educate the engineer to understand what it could take to do something, some development that could help them. So we always, when they give an idea, we bring them to the project, and then they are part of the designing of the automation or the tool or something. And then together, they are always part of the project so that they learn. Next time when they ask something, it's asked in a better way. Because the first time you ask, you might not know what you're wanting. So it's very hard to then for a developer to understand what you are wanting. But the more you train them, the more you educate them, the better the requests come. And I think it has nowadays, it's working pretty good already in the Tekla Structures. People know where to go, they know who to ask. If they don't know, they ask the colleague next doors, and the colleague next doors will know. So it has worked pretty well for us.
I think yes, it's very good and valid point that they should see these kind of like requests are for nothing. They have effect and they can change the things how they will work. Maybe just idea to make it better. As I think Tekla has also themselves. If you send a support ticket, then they have like some kind of guidelines. What should you include, and this kind of checklist could help. But okay, one thing is how we can get the information in, but do you have your communication ways for everybody that we have done these kind of improvements? Do you have some newsletters or chats somewhere?
That's again, like I mentioned, we have 1,200 users. These people are like spread all over the company in different units. So different units have different methods, but I have seen things like newsletters, like monthly technology newsletters. I have seen there is feedback inside the tool itself, software. You are inside Tekla Structures and you might get feedback automatically. Did you know about this? Did you know about that? There is trainings, of course. They can go to training page and find specific trainings on certain topics. And then if we know that we have, for example, a big project coming that we have never used some technology, then we give a specific training to them and help them then during the project. A lot of the development is also done in the projects. Like there's something we cannot do with Tekla Structures. We need to solve it. We cannot do it by hand. It's too time consuming to solve that problem by hand. We need to build something, and then the development team job is to build something, solve that problem, but making sure that it's a scalable solution so that we could then reuse in the next hospital or in the next bridge or something like that. It's not always easy, but that's at least the idea that we try to, or the idea we try to do every time.
Yeah, it sounds really good and like working system. Looks like you have put some time and effort to make it work, and it looks like working system. Ricardo, I know that there are many things, as I mentioned that at first, that you can't show, but can you tell and show something that you have done or what you're working on there on that side?
Well, I could talk a bit about maybe some data science. I think that has been it is actually quite a hot topic nowadays. If you go to a technology conference, you always hear about AI and data management and these kind of systems. So I've been showing this presentation in conferences. So the slides that I have here are from the conferences I've been going. So I could explain you or give you a real example. It's always easier to understand these concepts if you see a real example. But try to keep an open mind. So this is now an example on Tekla Structures, but the idea does not need to be on Tekla Structures. It can be used generically. So I'll share my screen and show you an example. All right. So this first slide, this shows you a specific project. So this is the Helsinki Olympic Stadium. So we were commissioned by our client to design or to extend the stadium so that there is this roof cover here. And this was done in this specific project. It was done using Tekla Structures. And the idea here, what I want to demonstrate here, is that nowadays we have a lot of automation that our people are using when they are designing structures like this. So they have tools like this kind of parametric tools that exist in Tekla Structures, or if they don't exist, you can have teams or coders that can build them for you, that then automate part of the process. So in this case, this is a tool that the user would select a steel column, a steel beam, and it would put a couple of parameters in the user interface. And then the tool itself has some rules inside that could build the actual detailing between the two structural objects. So this is pretty normal. Tekla Structures, when you buy it out of the box, comes with hundreds, I would say maybe thousands of these parametric tools. And then there is companies that also, manufacturers, for example, that build their own tools and then give our people to design. And our people, if they don't have these tools, it's too slow to design things in Tekla Structures and too much error prone, because this kind of standardized the way that this is done. But what I want to show you here is there is thousands of this, like I said before. If I show you some numbers, I'm a numbers guy, I like numbers. So like I told you before, there is 1,200 people using Tekla Structures in Sweco. And in 2020, there has been 10,000 of these unique tools used in our company. So these parametric tools, like you saw the picture in the slide before, and you see it here, there has been about 10,000 of these used here. And they have inserted this 17 million times. So these tools have been inserted in I think it was something like over 6,000 projects or 6,000 Tekla models that we have been working with last year. So there has been 17 million tools inserted in our projects. So how do we find the tools available? Like that's one of the things you were asking already. How do we spread the knowledge? When we build a new tool that speeds up the process or makes things in a more efficient way or more sustainable way, how do we share these to these 1,200 people that are sitting everywhere scattered around? That's in my opinion, the biggest problem nowadays, that we have too much information, too much technology. Technology is coming exponentially. How can we find ways to first of all find that information quickly and then filter it so that you give to the end user only the information he needs? So that's the kind of things that I've been working with some of our teams here in Finland in the last couple of years. And for example, in this case, what we did was basically building a system that we are extracting data from the software. So when our designers are doing some design, we are extracting information of how the design is being done. And in this case, well, this is Tekla and Revit, but we have mined in 2020 over 18,000 projects, and these data miners have been active for a total of 900 years. So they are active all the time that you are using the software and extracting data that then we use. In this case, we are using this data to basically group the persons together. So the idea here is simple. We have in the back anonymized a way to group people together. So if you are a precast engineer designing, for example, block buildings, you are grouped together with people like yourself. If you are a timber designer designing timber schools, then you are grouped with other type of people that work like you. And the idea then in the end is to have a system that can categorize data for you. So when you come to this website, it shows you that there is 4 people, or let's say I'm coming here, there's 4 people like myself. 2 of them are in Finland, 1 in Sweden, 1 in Norway. And it shows me the Tekla tools that they have used that I have never used. So these are 4 people that are designing things like I am, designing same type of structures, same type of projects, but they use tools that I have never used in my life. So these are the tools that might be relevant for my work, because so basically these tools are tools that could be used in the project that I'm currently using. So I don't want to find or search through 10,000 tools that we used last year. I want to see only these 41 that are relevant to me and I have never used. And if you want to go even deeper, so we need to have systems that can also start understanding, like let's say you are designing a steel structure, like a boiler building or something. Then the tool will understand what you are doing inside Tekla, and it will even cut down the data. So in this case, you see the 4 red circles here. So the data could automatically, or the machine could automatically filter even more. So instead of showing you 41 tools, it could show you only 4 tools. We know that you are trying to make a connection between a column, between 2 beams. Then these are the 4 options that you have not used before. Do you want to use it, or do you want me to see, for example, what we have done in the past, so that I could give you a suggestion? That could be something that, and that's something that we start to see. We start seeing it. This is not just done at Sweco. We see this happening in the big software companies. They are starting to find ways to analyze these massive amounts of information and extract data that can then be used to add value to the users. We see this in our competitors. We see this in it's mainly everywhere already. So it's still quite new, this kind of data science type of things, analyzing data and using that to add value to the business, but it's there already. In the last 3 to 5 years, I've been seeing things like this in the technology conferences related to AEC industry already. So this is just an example I wanted to show you, that a system that basically filters a massive amount of information, and then when you need some information, it finds automatically things that might be relevant to you. So it's something that I believe that we'll start seeing more and more in the future.
Yes, this machine learning and using this data, this one problem is really big, and I have seen also that the people who are coming to the trainings, then therefore even to do one simple mesh inside the concrete, there are 4 or 5 different tools, and they are not sure which one I should use, and if they want to learn everything, then they have to put time, effort to try everything out, do the mistakes, but this is really good to offer.
And if you want to standardize, for example, I mean, if you give a problem to an engineer or to an architect, and they have so many options, you'll come up, let's say you give a problem to 10 engineers, you might get 10 different solutions. But if you start having this kind of a ways to give information to them, something that is more standard, then you can decrease that variability in the design and start building more standardized ways. And that then adds to that thing that you were talking about, the sustainability. The more standard it becomes, the more sustainable solutions we can design, the more repeatability we can have, and the more better quality we can then deliver to the client in a faster way. So we can start doing things that we couldn't do before, because we are now so much more faster. We can then try different things, try different solutions, and discuss with the client much early on, because this design phase is one of the phases that has biggest impact on the full life cycle of a structure. It's the place where it's still cheap to make a change. When you go to the earlier phases of the life cycle, it's already, I don't say too late, but much more difficult to make a change. So the more early on you have this kind of possibilities and suggestions, the bigger the impact will be in the full life cycle, on the carbon footprint or on the cost, for example, of the full life cycle solution. So that's one of the things we've been working on how to analyze data. First of all, how to collect data, how to analyze it, and then how can we target the information after we extract the juice out of the data? How can we target that in an easy way to the user so that it doesn't disturb his workflow? So that we can see that when we target some information, there is an impact on the productivity, for example, and on the quality of the project, or on the sustainability of the final product. So that's the kind of things that we have been working on with some of the teams here in Finland.
Yes, you mentioned before that there is a lot of information, and you extracting this information and squeezing the juice out. Can you tell some focus points? So what you're focusing, what kind of information? One is the usage of which kind of tools different users are using and how much they are using in which situation, so others can take it. But which kind of information you have found that it's useful to take out also? What you have used?
So at the moment we are focusing mainly on the how do they use the system? Can we find patterns there? So can we somehow understand that designing like this wall like this creates a better sustainability solution? So can we somehow try to reproduce that in the next project? Give suggestions to the users that if you do it like this, you could, I don't know, it could create a better solution or something. Try to reuse historical data. That's something that is still very new. There's not many people around the world yet doing. And if you think about it, nowadays, in everywhere, or how it has been with BIM, you have a project, let's say 3-year project, you start doing a 3D model or a building information model, and in the end, you have a final product, right? But
Yes.
what about all the steps you have taken during these 3 years? All of that is lost. People are not saving that. Like the idea or the way that people actually, or what do the people do to achieve the final result that they did in 3 years? We don't have that information. And that's the kind of thing that we are doing. We are trying to save that. That's let's say the brain of the structural engineer is there, saved in the database. And from that brain, we find the relationships and we try to optimize then the process. So from looking at this historical data, we can understand that, okay, maybe if we create some kind of a template file for this certain type of object, we can improve the design speed, for example, or the decrease the amount of steel in this structure. And then the benefit also when we are measuring things is that you can validate. Then the next project you can measure, did it help or not? This change we did, it had a 10% impact. We are now 10% faster, or we design with, I don't know, 5% less steel. So it's I think very important to start saving historical data on our projects. So and analyzing that information and try to learn from it. Of course, we do this nowadays. I mean, people, if you have worked in a project, you will remember things you have done good and try to reproduce. But can we somehow digitize this so-called silent knowledge? Because that's silent knowledge that lives inside people's heads. So can we somehow digitize that knowledge and then make that available to the other people as well? So that you get superpowers, basically. Like you have the superpowers, you have your own knowledge plus the knowledge of all the other people combined. And together, as a community, you'll be designing better and better all the time. So it's kind of giving superpowers to our people.
Yes, this kind of like getting the information from the users. Maybe I have noticed that many engineers are not too, how to say, communicative, and they are not too fond of communicating. Then you get the information without any words. The question that I have seen some different posts when you have put in social media, and another thing is about visualizing. I can imagine this information comes in, then some IT guys can understand it, and there is a lot of lines. It's okay, but you have done some solutions or approach also how to visualize and make it like presentable for yourself, for managers, different parties. So.
Yeah, that's also part of the, let's say, the key to success is basically to find a way that it's user-friendly. I mean, usability is something very important. So don't make tools, for example, that are too complicated, too complex. Try to split them into smaller tools. So if you want a tool to design a full truss, then maybe you don't design one tool, you design multiple small tools that design a specific part of the truss. And then you have a master tool that could combine all of them together. But try to split the problem into smaller pieces and try to make the tools and the processes more user-friendly. So that has been something that we have been very heavy focus in the teams that we have been working. And it has been giving quite good success because the people, they use the tools. We can see that from the numbers. So it is usable, and also they give feedback often. So we are always learning. So we are not, so when they use the tools, they now know that they know where to go and ask, and they give feedbacks. Okay, maybe it should be done like that. So it's a constant learning. And since we have been doing this for a long time, then we have been learning and learning and learning and all the time trying to improve.
Ricardo, what have you seen like in last year? So in whole this time, there are in Tekla there are two sides. There is one about modeling the building, and another side is that we have to do is to make the drawings. So which way or where do you put more effort, or what has taken more man hours?
Well, I can tell you the average numbers because I can measure that. I can see it's 70-30. It's about 70-30, 70 being model side, 30 being drawing side. But remember, there's a lot of automation built on top of the drawing side. So in the past, it was not 70-30. So our models are quite well enriched with data. It's not just a 3D model. So it's a building information model. So we have statuses, we have a lot of different things. So a lot of time is spent on the model. And then the drawing should be the thing that is quick. And at the moment, average is 70-30. But we have projects, for example, that have 0 drawings already, quite many. So I actually have some slides that I can show you today from a project that won the Trimble Global BIM Awards last year. That was a bridge done with 0 drawings or minimal amount of drawings. So we are going to that direction.
Yeah, I will leave this one of the last questions. This I would like to see also about hear about this project. Um, you mentioned about the drawings and models, so drawings automatically come. Can you tell something? Have you done something about the one very popular or this hype thing is VR and augmented reality? I know Trimble is also with the HoloLens classes. How Sweco has it taken something also to take into the focus?
So we have been actually developing on that field. So we have been developing ourselves, plus in partnership with other companies like VTT and Trimble and so on that topic. So the idea has been a lot, it's still quite a lot of research and development on the level that I am, but I also know teams, for example, in Norway, that the project that we will talk about, that bridge project, they have tested in the site those solutions. So the Trimble Site Vision, for example, that's one device that you can see, you can overlay a 3D model on top of the real environment from your phone. So it's not HoloLens, because HoloLens, we have the thing here, it's you have a phone in your hand and you can see through the camera of the phone the 3D model. So we have been trying that in the site with the site people. So trying to connect our models, our building information models directly to those devices so that the people on site could investigate certain parts that was hard to investigate without drawings, because that project was without drawings. So we are testing at the moment both on R&D, building these kind of solutions, but also trying to test these kind of solutions in real projects.
And so far, how it looks? Is it something that very soon? I have seen some pictures and let's say theoretical cases also, where, for example, there are really complicated cast in place reinforcement, and then it's really easy for site manager to come and then compare what the workers have done, and is it the same as it was in project? So what is in your, how you see that? Is it like how near we are these results of using it? Is it already
Well,
working
we
or
are
is it
already using it in those
okay?
drawingless projects. We need to use it because, like you said, if we have this in that bridge that I'm going to show you some slides, the Randselva bridge in Norway, it's a massive bridge. And there was parts that were so complicated and we didn't have any drawings. So they need to have these systems, tablets, for example, and other systems that they can see, go zoom in and see how it's done. So, and that's the way that it has worked well. So this project that I'm going to show, it's not the first that we have used this. We have designed, I don't remember, it was 2 or 3 years ago. It was the E6 project. It was something like 40 bridges with no drawings. So that was the first drawingless project in Norway that where we learned a lot about this technology and testing different things on site. And since then, maybe I don't remember for 3-4 years. Since then, there has been multiple others coming. So it's not a one-time thing that we are testing. It starts to come this kind of workflows. And when you don't have drawings, you need to have systems that allow you to see the design, the building information model.
Yeah. Maybe if we are already talking about this so much, then let's jump in and maybe you can share these slides and share a little bit about this project and tell also what are the most important things when we are having, for example, a project without drawings. What should we keep in mind, that what is especially important there, or what we have to consider?
Yep. So the Randselva bridge in Norway. So there's the one slide that that kind of demonstrates what the project is. So this is a massive bridge. It's actually the longest bridge that is being designed and built without drawings currently, and it's situated in Norway. I've been involved in this project as my part was on the development side, so I don't design. I have not been in the design phase of this, but there has been people from multiple Sweco countries involved in here, and this is a very special project. Just the one thing is that there's no drawings, but there's other things that are special here. But if we look, so there's some pictures also about so this is a Tekla model, and then there's a lot of other softwares that we use during this project. And the idea is that the bridge itself, it's 643 meters long. And for example, in this highest area of the bridge. I think it's these pillars here that you see in the picture. It's like, I think it's 13 meters high. That's how high the bridge is in the toppest and the biggest, on the tallest part. There is 0 drawings used, and it's 20,000 rebars. So this is a fully detailed model. You need to design, this model needs to be done so that the people on the site know how to build this. So that's a lot of detail, a lot of information is in this project, in this building information model. And that was one of the things that we needed to change. And like I mentioned before, this is not our first project like this. So we have learned a lot in the past, and we have been refining all the time. The more projects we get, the better we become on showing information from a model. That was not the case. It's not the generic case. The generic case is that you have a drawing, and you need to optimize. And there has been years and years of making it perfect to show information from a drawing. Now we are entering the phase that we need to show information in a 3D model. And that we have been trying to develop further and further with the projects that we are doing. But yep, so this is one project that is actually now, the design is finished. So they are building the bridge. And yep.
Ricardo, one question. Why what was the reason why to make this project without drawings? I know that in past there has been cases, for example, that they are in so much hurry with the project that they can't wait for the drawings, and I know some projects that there has been done a project without drawings, and later for the documentation the drawings come later after when it's ready already. But what was in this case, and what have you seen? What has been the case?
I have only 2 projects that I've been involved with this, or that I know of, these drawingless projects here in Sweco. It was this E6 project, which was the 40 bridges without drawings. And in that case, it was the rush. The deadline was so small that there was no time to do drawings. And then Sweco proposed, okay, why don't we try a new workflow? Let's try it out and see how it works. And it went so well that ever since we started having more and more projects like that. And I think this Randselva bridge, I cannot be sure, but my feeling is that it's the same, that the deadline was so small, or the deadline was, there was some issue with the deadline, and they have seen other projects done like drawingless before, so they wanted to try new ways of working, for example. And the idea, I think, from the contractor was to do this the first. I think this was their first. They haven't done drawingless projects before. So basically testing this bridge, how it could work, to then maybe adopt it in the future as a common workflow for them.
And what were your first, like from the first project, the lessons, the biggest lessons, what you should keep in mind, or what went good, or what you next time made better?
In the first project, it was learned a lot about the communication. How do we communicate between the stakeholders? So remember, I was not involved in that project. My role has been always from the technical side, with small things, support building small tools, or building small functions that automate some part of the process. But the feeling I have, and from the discussions I've been having with the people when I talk to them, is that the communication has been the biggest issue in the beginning, but it was, even during that first project, it was improved a lot. And everyone on site was like super surprised that maybe they were a bit skeptical in the beginning, and then when they saw that things were working, they were quite happy with it. But this project is also, so there's no drawings, but there's also new ways of doing design. So in here we have used parametric design, which means that, let's say if there's a change in the bridge, like in the road geometry, let's say that we change the bridge, I don't know, we turn it to the other side, then you have a script that then automates part of the design. So the design automatically changes. And you can see here the percentages of how much this bridge is done like that. So in the piles, 95% of the piles is parametric. So if there's a change, 95% will change automatically. In the concrete side, 75% is coming from the parametric design scripts. In the reinforcement, 70% of the 200,000 rebars is automatic. And in the tendons, 98% of this work was with parametric design, and in the detailing part, 75% was done using parametric design. So this is also something that we have been testing a lot, just not testing, but actually using in projects. So finding ways to kind of speed up or new ways of doing design so that we can test different solutions early on, so that we can, together with the client, plan and try to optimize these structures for sustainability or for other type of things. And something that in the past, without these technologies, it was impossible. It was too time consuming to do these kind of things. If you want to change the road geometry in the middle of the project, it means start over if you don't have systems like this. So this has been something that we have seen now in the last couple of years, that these technologies, if used right, can have a huge impact on the way that we design structures. And it has been a big investment to not just research them, but also use them in production from our side.
What kind of different software, so what have you used for parametric design? Is it Grasshopper?
Well, in this case, it was Grasshopper, but basically in Sweco, they use a bit of everything. Okay. Usually when you have Revit models, they use Dynamo. And then in the Tekla, it's very common that they use the Grasshopper because of the Grasshopper link with Tekla. So, but there is other type of softwares that are not these mainstream parametric design softwares that are used within Sweco. But in this specific case, in this bridge, the parametric design software was Grasshopper.
Very good. Really good examples, and I get more and more assurance also that this kind of parametric design can give you really good benefits, not only these kind of like complex structures like buildings, the tunnels or bridges, but more and more I see how they are used with this kind of like normal office buildings or wherever, and this kind of like Ricardo said that we can do the changes really quickly and everything changes just slide little bit, and the bonus is that it's not very complicated. I have heard that with 1 weekend you already can do some kind of like good solutions, so helpful.
Well, this bridge was a bit more than a week, but the more complicated, it's always like that in development. The more complex the project is, the more it takes. But this is interesting because we talked in the beginning about those Tekla plugins, for example. In those, you need a real, like a hardcore software engineer. You need someone like that. These parametric design things, parametric design softwares, it's often the normal people, the engineers, the architects that use them. So we have now added an extra layer of development that we didn't have in the past. So in the past, we only have software engineers. Now we have parametric design specialists that can support development needs of the company. So, and it's easier, faster to train these people, the parametric design people, than the software engineers, because normally when you are a software engineer, you go to a university, you study 5 years, you need a couple of years experience, and then you know how to do coding. Yeah. Of course, there's people that self-learn and are very good at it, but that's the normal situation. But with a parametric design software, it's kind of made easier for the normal people without software development skills to start with. And that is a huge power that is also starting to come, because the technology is coming so quickly, the projects are becoming more demanding and more demanding all the time. So we need to have more and more development. And this has been a very good way to scale up our development activities, to add this layer of parametric design specialists or computational design specialists. So not just use parametric design, like you said, for the complicated shapes, but then use this technology for this kind of small automations, and then have hundreds of these small automations together. It's a massive automation, like you see here. This is a lot of different blocks and scripts together, then make a full automation system.
Yeah, similar to parametric design, I have seen that, or I feel that Tekla is also one thing that is on one hand really complex, and it has different possibilities, but our thing is also, when I visit different companies, then I see that there are people who are innovative, and the companies who get the biggest benefits are like, okay, who is thinking, what can we do? There are tools, there are different like only tools, and we have to see how we can put these tools work for us beneficially. So there are a lot of out of the box solutions also what we can do with Tekla, and even more with this parametric design. So this is something to think about. Ricardo, what do you think the last questions, so it's quite long has been already. In the end, what do you think, what is the key success to make the Tekla implementation or working or having Tekla successfully? What's the gives the most benefits in one company?
I think I don't know what is the key to success, but at least what has worked well, like we discussed today. I mean, the training of the people, empowering the people, letting them have time to think, to use test new things. If you want to learn parametric design, give them time to learn parametric design, because in the end, you'll get benefit out of that. So let them learn, build these communities around these topics that people with same ideas can join together, share and learn together, and then start influencing the others. This has been shown massive results with us. So I think that's the key. And then when you see, for example, that if you are a small company and you see that it's not enough anymore, the basic functionality of the software, then try to make a plan on how to build a development team that could add company-specific features or tools or processes. Maybe start small, always start small, and always measure the results so that it's easier to scale. The more you can show the added value, the faster you'll be able to scale inside your own company. So if you don't show any added value, of course, people can find themselves the added value, but it's always more difficult and takes more time. If you just show in some slides some numbers, okay, this is how much we have invested in development, and this is the benefit. We have now 18,000 projects. The tools were used 17 million times, and the satisfaction rate of the clients is this much higher now. It's a fact. It's a number that it's not invented or a theory. It's a fact. It's there. So, and it's easier than to invest more, because we can predict that if we invest this much more, that's the outcome that you get back. So, but always start small, and then try to measure and keep your. One thing is that don't try, maybe not close yourself. I mean, try to collaborate with others. I think that has been also important for us. I mean, there is things that we solve nowadays that are things that there's not many people around the world that have solved. You go to Google and you don't find a solution. So you need to discuss with people that have been working on similar things, so that together you could find a solution. So we have plenty of these kind of things. So don't try to basically close yourself or close your doors. Of course, there's secrets, but there is things, if you don't go too deep into detail, that are okay to discuss to the industry. This is a $10 trillion per year industry. It employs 7% of the world's working population. It's massive, and it's very siloed. So it's not a one company or one small island that will solve the problem. We need to sit together and do it together.
Yes, once you told really well that why to keep the secrets on company level, when anyway we know if some employee will leave our company to another company, then he will take all the knowledge with, and this information moves anyway. So why to try to stop? And I see also, I think the company who actually does most of the communication and co-working will be the winner, because he will get the co-working benefits, and the others who are like keeping themselves, they will not. So I would encourage also co-working. And another thing is, if you have engineering company, then what I have seen, that the one side is the knowledge. Okay, do we have the people who know how to do, or think at least how we could improve, do some automation. But other thing is very important, especially on the management side, that they would reserve the time for doing this kind of work. It is not working like this, that you take some normal engineer and says, okay, you are now BIM manager. On top of your everyday work, you get this Tekla implementation automation also. I have seen these companies, and it's not working.
I believe that it can work to an extent, but you cannot expect that it can work then full-time job. I mean, if he needs to do 80% of his job in a project or 85% of his time in the project, then it's only the rest that is left for that job. So and I think that is something that has changed a lot in Finland, and this is not just in Sweco, it's in many other companies. By talking to other people, we discuss this often, that the mindset in the top management has changed a lot in the last decade. Where in the beginning development was seen as a cost, now is seen as an investment for the future. And there is still those cases that you still get a second title even though you only have the same amount of hours per day. But the management starts to understand that yes, we need to decrease this main job to be able to give the space for the development. It's not perfect. There's some companies ahead of others, but there is a trend, at least here in Finland, that I see, and that many companies have this already. They understand that without it, it's very dangerous to be without it. So because if you just overstress your workforce, they'll just leave and go to another company that offers a better situation. And that's one of the benefits of digitalization as well. Everything is known. You can read everything online. You can find how the companies work. So, and it's easy to move around. So that's why in Sweco, one of our key pillars in the Sweco is the best people. Try to make this as a good working environment and try to make our people happy and try to teach them and educate them and helping them creating these communities. Be like in our development teams, it's like a family. Like it's our second family basically. We are helping each other and learning from each other, pushing ourselves to the up and up all the time. So it feels good to work in environments like that. So, but I'm pretty sure that this is the way in most of the companies, at least in the Nordic region. So this way of working is pretty Nordic, the way I think.
Yes, and I think for the company level also, it's one thing good that okay, if you do these things, then you are like innovative. Then one side you attract the customers and you attract the new clients, but the other side also it attracts the employees. If you are like outdated, old school company who has nothing innovative and really like let's say boring, then okay, sometimes salary can affect a lot, but many times people are looking something more and innovative and this kind of like being leader on the market. I think it has great value.
And I think if we touch that point now, if you think about the workforce, especially the workforce in the future, like the millenniums and those younger ones from the 90s and 2000s, those people are like the normal, the stereotype is that they need a mission. They are the people that will not come to a company without a mission. If you don't have something like a let's save the world and actually trying to do it, they'll leave you. I mean, that's not, this is what I see in conferences and reading books. It's not a Sweco thing, but anyways, it's a personal statement here that's the kind of thing that I've been reading and seeing in conferences, that there is this different, like the boomers, our parents, they wanted to be in a company all their lives. They wanted to work since they started working until they retire in the same company, no matter what. But nowadays it's not like that anymore. Plus also your education will change, will shift so much in the future. You'll need to relearn different trades along your career because the technology and the ways of working will change so quickly. If BIM, for example, has taken, I don't know, when it started, maybe 25, 30 years ago, and there is still countries adopting it, in the future, these times will decrease. So you'll need to reskill yourself all the time. And the people, younger generation, are already feeling like that. They are already being trained like that. They are getting an iPhone today. In 5 years from now, the iPhone has 50,000 more apps and features. So they are already brainwashed to always to improve so quickly with the technology. And that is something that will impact, in my opinion, quite a lot in our companies. While now our industry is quite, like mentioned before, quite resistant to change, and sometimes people even say slow adopting change. In the future, when this new workforce comes, I mean, they are not wanting this kind of way of working. So what will happen then? It's something that I really would like to have a time machine and go and see what is going to be in 10 to 20 years.
Something to wait for. Okay, Ricardo, my very last question. What can you tell, of course, not specifically, but what are the plans of Sweco with Tekla or generally where Sweco, what do you think, what can you tell where Sweco is going? What are the like in focus and what do you think generally on construction industry? What will happen also outside of our engineering offices?
So, so from my side, so I'm the director of technology here in Sweco, Finland, and from my side, my role is not a software like specific software, but the idea or the plan is that we will keep the automation, keep skilling our workforce, finding smarter and faster ways to share knowledge with the people, depending on the software. And but automation has been very strong in the past, and it is still very strong today, and it's going to be even more in the future. So finding ways to do things smarter that create better quality to the clients and create more sustainable solutions. That's the plan to keep growing this development side inside the company that can then support the core business for Sweco. That's the strategy here in Finland, and also in the group level, it's similar. So
And generally, if you see the construction outside of our engineering offices, or not only in Sweco.
I think it's going in the same direction. So I am like very much in contact with the European like construction scene. So I don't have much contact with the US. I have some. It's a bit different there. And then in Asia is also totally different. So I'm maybe a bit biased to talk about the worldwide scene, but in Europe I see that it's quite similar. We see automation in all of the countries. We see people trying to improve their processes everywhere. So there is some countries and some companies that are a bit slower, but I think they are all going to the same direction. We are moving to a world of building information models. We are, even in this Nordic region, like I showed you, we are moving to a world without 2D drawings at all. And maybe in the future, like I tried to show you today, we are moving to a world where we can use technology and the automation to give superpowers to our people. Let the machines do the heavy lifting on these heavy computations, and let us humans be having the creative part and make the decisions based on the information we get from the machines. That's how I think, and I hope that we are going to move in the future, so that we can then solve these big problems we have in the industry that are basically killing our planet. If you think about the climate change, it's real. I always say this in a conference: climate change is real. It's not a hoax. So, and the construction industry, we have about 40% of the CO2 emissions comes from the construction industry. Between 25 to 40% of the energy consumption comes from the construction industry. So there is a lot of potential to use these new methods, new technology, new systems, collaborate together so that we can decrease this impact that the industry is causing in the planet. So I really believe and I really hope that we can sit like a brainstorm together and find solutions for these problems that are not new. They have been here for decades already.
Yeah. I hope also that people find their superpowers and use them. I have I have found my superpowers. So thank you very much, Ricardo, for your this interview. It was really interesting to listen. I'm really sorry that I was not planning to go so long and over time, but it was too interesting and I couldn't find the spot where to stop. Do you have any last words, recommendations, wishes?
Well, I have a request or a wish that if you listeners have something or are doing something similar to this, connect with me in LinkedIn, for example, and let's chat about it. Like I said, we are open to discussion. This is not something that we, Sweco, or me, Ricardo, or a country will solve. This is something that we need to solve together, many of these issues. So connect with me in LinkedIn and let's have discussions about these topics if you have some ideas on, or if you are doing same type of work that we talked today.
Yes. Thank you very much, guys. I would recommend also that check out Sweco Group webpage, swecogroup.com. And they have a YouTube channel. Just search for Sweco Group. And in LinkedIn, you can find Sweco as a company, but also I would definitely recommend to follow Ricardo Farinha. I am following him, and this is where I found him and took contact. And if he, at first I was afraid that I don't know if he, he wants that I promote his LinkedIn profile there, but now looks like it's okay, and I encourage you. He's really cool guy. He's posting there time to time really interesting kind of like posts. I have seen also some, let's say, data visualization and things from the future, let's say so. So I recommend to check it out. If you like this episode and you would like to get more in the future, then follow us in YouTube channel, put like and follow. Then in Facebook, also find the TS Guide, and in LinkedIn, I think it's makes more sense to follow or take contact with me personally, Sten Tuudak. Also check out our webpage, tsguide.eu, and I really hope that you found this episode very useful. You get some at least ideas where to go with your let's say focus, and where to take the focus, where to go, and which kind of development do in your company, how to go with the time, not be left behind. And we'll see you next time. Take care and see you. Bye.